Brought up something interesting there. Really, really interesting. I want to flip the conversation here too. Like we've spoken a lot about the property side of the budget and how we think it'll be affected. I think there's some really important points there that if you are a property owner should give you some confidence, in my opinion anyway. It's given me some confidence. But the business side, I think this is the more interesting one, and I think this is where we might have more varying views or looks at here.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it out there that I don't think it was actually the best budget for business owners. This is probably the area I have the most gripe with. And I'll explain. There's some wins, and I want to talk about the wins first, but then there were some things that, in my opinion, I really think we should reconsider. I think we missed the mark. Really do.
Great. I'd love to know what they are.
We'll start with the wins. I thought one of the best things in the budget was the instant depreciation. I thought if you were a company doing under 5 billion, they basically eliminated everyone except the miners.
Yeah, the miners and banks were the only ones that were excluded. Yeah.
Yeah, you can instantly depreciate assets. I thought that was a really good move because I think there's a lot of businesses out there that's an incentive where they'll buy things. They'll buy equipment, they'll buy plant, they'll start moving money and increasing that velocity of money to do things, and it makes it so much easier as a business owner to make those moves.
Yeah.
So just to bring some context to that to people that maybe don't understand, is previously if you'd spent $100,000 on something, you would depreciate that over a number of years and only see the tax benefits over a number of years. It might be 3, might be 5, where now you can depreciate or write that off in 1 year. And then they also increase the amount you can depreciate. It's pretty much, I'm sure there is a cap to it, but they've just basically just removed. It's just like, buy what you need.
Yeah.
It's very, very, which I think is so interesting because it used to be like $2,500 and then they put it up to 10 grand.
I think it's up to 150,000, I think. Pretty sure it's up.
That was it last year. I think that's going to change again. I think they're lifting it again. They're really, really going for it. But it was up to 150 at last time I checked. But like literally, I remember being in business where it was like, and I know this sounds interesting, but I used to go to the tool shop, and this is back years ago when I was a plumber, and I would have to buy items separately so I could depreciate them in that year because if I bought a bundle, it would go over the cap and I would have to depreciate it over a number. And I'm sure there was people out there doing or looking at things like that. It was just silly. But I look at that and just go, that's going to change spending in itself. The second thing I think they did really well is obviously the tax cuts. I think that's a really good thing for business. And I'm not sure a lot of people are aware, but like compared to overseas, Australia's tax is incredibly high. And it's not so much a problem if you're just operating within Australia, but if you, like me, are operating in the world, that tax rate is like being kneecapped when you go into competition with companies overseas. So we play this very, very different game. So I'm thrilled that there was a little bit of competitiveness put into it. But 2 policies I'm really a big fan of, and I'm thrilled we're starting to bring in are definitely there.
Yeah, I think they're very good. I think another thing, and I'm very keen to hear what you think was bad about it. But one of the other things I was throwing there, aside from those kind of like direct business interventions or incentives, was actually the trainee programs. So to encourage more employment. See, I think one of the biggest assets for any business is to build a great team. But one of the biggest inhibitors of growth is the cost of building a team. You know, you've got the expensive training, the expensive hiring, you got all the super and all of that kind of stuff. But they've created the incentive where they'll actually cover half of the wage for trainees and apprentices, which is going to encourage more businesses to take on more young people, which to give them more skills and to train them up in business. I know personally that when I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, that's really interesting," because potentially we could take on some trainees and actually train them up to be buyers agents and to do all that kind of stuff and take them on without having necessarily the cost risk associated with doing that, or certainly a buffered risk.